Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is once again spreading the big lie. But before we go any further, here's what he actually said just one day after the 2020 election. Ball don't lie.
People are actually looking at Florida and asking the question, why can't these states be more like Florida? Florida was able to handle 11 million ballots, a combination of in-person early voting, vote by mail, election day, process them in a timely way, tabulate them, and report them. And these other states had the opportunity to do that. They haven't done it. The way Florida did it, I think, inspires confidence.
So I just want to double check. That was Ron DeSantis. Yep. That was Ron DeSantis praising, bragging, and boasting about how Florida handled their election in 2020. But despite all of that praise that you just saw Ron DeSantis dishing there, he's still going all in on the idea of voter fraud. He's enacted a series of new voting restrictions, most of which were struck down by a federal judge, citing Florida's, quote, horrendous history of racism. And now he's creating an election police force. That's right. Despite the governor's own stated confidence in his own elections, which you just saw on videotape, Florida taxpayers will spend $2.6 million to create an Office of Election Crimes and Security to address an issue that doesn't actually exist, like some weird, twisted version of Minority Report. Joining me now to discuss is former Florida Republican Congressman David Jolly. He is an MSNBC political analyst. Tom Cruise is not a part of the police force. But David, why are these GOP governors like DeSantis doing this? It feels like performative toughness when it comes to fake imaginary problems like systemic voter fraud when you're not really doing anything about COVID, which is an actual real problem, which has killed lots and lots of people. Your thoughts?
It certainly is performative politics. I also call it desperate conservatism, this reach in this new brand of conservatism for all things that touch on what Trump has defined as the great challenges, regardless of the merit. And I think the clip you led with, Zerlina, is interesting because that was Ron DeSantis after the 2020 election when he believed that a demonstration of competence in governing was sufficient merit upon which to brag about Florida and perhaps even make a run for the White House. And what we now see 2 years later is that competence is not the currency within today's Republican politics. It is this desperate conservatism that chases conspiracy theories, even against all facts and all knowledge. And so if it is an issue that arises that Donald Trump says we've got to fix election fraud, Ron DeSantis chases that. If it's an issue at the Texas border, Ron DeSantis, what he actually did is send the Florida National Guard units to the Texas border to be a part of this performative politics. If conservatives say you shouldn't wear a mask, Ron DeSantis publicly humiliates a student on national TV for wearing a mask. That is the currency of today's Republican politics. It also, shamefully, is why Ron DeSantis is probably the front runner for the White House in terms of the Republican primary of 24.
Isn't that pretty sad, though? Don't you feel like you would focus, voters would respond to someone focusing on real issues, especially because it's not like we don't have any. We're in the middle of a pandemic, climate crisis looming large, war in Ukraine, possibility of World War III. We had a full insurrection attack on our capital January 6th. And yet he's passing the Don't Say Gay bill and bans on critical race theory and creating a police force to investigate fraud that doesn't exist. It feels to me like voters would notice that he's distracted by fake problems when the real ones are going unaddressed.
When the number one issue in the state of Florida right now affecting Floridians is a crisis in affordability for rent and homeowners insurance for current homeowners. There is a crisis. And what the legislature and the governor did not do during the session was address that. As you mentioned, they addressed CRT. They passed the shameful Don't Say Gay bill. They did the election police force. They did anti-immigration and xenophobia legislation. What they did not do was actually address the number one issue in the state right now. And to your point, if there's any optimism in the body politic, it's that Floridians have started to catch on to that. And just this past week, Ron DeSantis has had to initiate a special session to actually address the issue that matters to Floridians, not this other garbage they just spent the last 90 days addressing.
So I want to turn to the issue of Disney World, because that's been a little bit of a dramatic back and forth. The Miami Herald is actually reporting that Disney has basically told investors that Ron DeSantis actually can't dissolve Disney's special district without first paying off its debt. How do you think his war with Disney and Mickey Mouse plays out here? I like that Disney was like, yeah, nah, you owe us. Pay us what you owe.
A confederacy of dunces running our state government, I suppose. Look, I mean, again, what we saw in that 2020 clip about the election was a Ron DeSantis bragging about competence, that Florida's elections actually worked really well. And he realized that within today's Republican politics, people don't want to hear that. They want to hear conspiracies and grievance. And so the most disconcerting thing about this Disney issue is this. Yes, there's the underlying substance of Republicans in the legislature and the governor together trying to put LGBT teachers back in the closet. I mean, that's essentially what they've done. If you teach 1st to 3rd grade in the state of Florida, you are not allowed to acknowledge your same-sex spouse, or you may get sued by a parent. That's what they did. Now, as shameful as that is, the next most shameful thing, I suppose, would be that when Disney used its public speech to criticize the bill, the governor and the legislature went back into special session and used the official levers of the government to quell that speech and to punish that speech. That's terrifying. That's absolutely terrifying. The other thing they did, Disney said, we're going to pause our political contributions. We're going to stop giving money to the governor and the legislature. So they said, well, we're going to whack you even harder. We are going to rip away your tax status because you're no longer our cheerleader and you're no longer lining our pockets. I mean, if this was a different set of actors, there would be significant claims here of criminality and graft and all those other things. But because of the way everyone's situated, it won't be attended to like that by the courts. But what should not go overlooked is that Ron DeSantis and the Republicans said, welcome to Florida. You're not allowed to offer any dissent for our political positions, or we're going to use the levers of state government to punish you.
I don't know what they call that, but it is not democracy. David Jolly,
That's right.
Thank you so much for being here. Please stay safe.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Zerlina Maxwell. Thanks for checking out our channel on YouTube. You can see more from Zerlina by clicking any of the videos on this screen, and make sure you subscribe below to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. Thanks for watching.